it would just make sense to strive for what a man is as a man of value, if you're a young man or a man, period, or a woman, what men are looking for.
Yep.
So what men of value are looking for. Assalamu alaikum, peace. I am Coach Nazir, one of the founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships, as well as one of the authors of Let's Talk Polygyny Uncensored. I'm also known as a coach that helps people get their shift together. So with that being said, as I'm sitting here and you see this young gentleman sitting next to me, we're going to be having a discussion regarding what men of value are really looking for when it comes to marriage. What characteristics are important, what are valuable, just having a frank, open, honest discussion, no scripted questions, anything like that. He's an author. He's also a business and marketing strategist and consultant, and so on. So you'll hear some of his perspective, my perspective, ask some questions, just have an open conversation. So with that being said, welcome our dear brother, Mr. Raza Imam.
All right, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, we've been knowing each other for quite some time, as a matter of fact, and clearly what we talk about and deal with at Outstanding Personal Relationships is developing joyful and fulfilling relationships. And we're pro-moral, so we talk marriage. Of course, the default standard that people know is monogamy, but we focused on also polygyny and giving it its fair airtime. All right. So with that being said, knowing that there's this whole concept of high value man, it means earning, multiple six figures or seven figures and whatnot. And I don't subscribe to that philosophy. Only because when you look at it and just put it in those economic terms, that doesn't mean they're actually high value or have values, because that describes, as I'm looking in the background and I can see Trump Tower. So he's a high value man, right? Not in my eyes or people with value in general. So I came up with more of a man of value, meaning they have values as a foundation, but also add value to the marketplace and to the family and everything else. So with that being said, being a man of value yourself and, having a number of different characteristics that are attractive, besides your physical prowess and strength. So let me ask you, just get right to it. What are some of the things that men who are men of value, that have, again, those high values I just mentioned, looking for in healthy marriages? What are they looking for in women? I want them to hear from someone other than myself. So let's talk.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think to answer a few different ways we can answer that question, but I think before we talk about what a man of value or a man with values wants, I think we should talk about what a man of value or a man with values can give and what he can bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that the men are the protectors over women and the maintainers. And the way I understand that, of course, there's a financial element. The man will provide and protect for his family and his wife. But there is the physical aspect. So that means he has to have a level of even physical strength. He has to have, even deeper than that, a level of emotional strength to protect the emotions and the feelings of his family. And that's his part of the bargain. Just like you said, a man of value doesn't just mean that you have money, because there are plenty of people with money with no values.
Right, no doubt.
And they bring zero value to the table other than their money. So a proper man should have the financial aspect, the physical aspect, the emotional aspect, protection from all those angles. Okay. Mm-hmm. Given that he's delivering that and he's bringing that to the table, what a man of value wants is a cooperative wife, someone that can help him build and continue to go out into the world so he can continue building value, not only for himself, but for his wife, his wives, and their children, mm-hmm. and even their bloodline.
So when you say this, that poses a question too, because you say, all right, he already has these things, and then she's helping him build that. So do you mean she's helping him build his business and all that type of stuff? Or what is she helping him build in particular? And is she needed for that?
I think the number one thing that a man is looking for is peace of mind and tranquility, especially in his home. When he goes out of the home, he's dealing with the outside world. He's dealing with, if he owns a business, he's dealing with employees, with customers, with vendors. He's dealing with competitors. If he works in a job, he has to maintain a certain level of professional certification. He has to understand how to deal and navigate with coworkers, with superiors, with direct reports. It's a stressful, challenging situation. He has to be on top of his health. He has to be thinking about his children and their proper education and their futures. So when he goes out into the world, a man with values and a man of value it's almost like it's battle. It's battle.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I mean, today it's a lot more civilized, but it's still battle. So when he comes home, he needs that tranquility. He needs a support. And the archetype for that was Khadija radiallahu anha. The support she gave to the Prophet ﷺ when he went into the society as a messenger with a brand new message, and his whole society turned against him.
Right.
The tranquility she provided for him in the home was paramount to him being able to carry the da'wah. So if we're looking at our lives today, a man with value and a man of value who has a mission in life, who has purpose, who's accomplishing goals, needs that same level of tranquility, comfort, support, and understanding in his home, so he can come back and be re-energized.
So what does that look like? Because right now we're talking on a theoretical perspective, right? But give me an example of how that would look. So a man's earning, he's taking care of his responsibility as a qawam, right? So what does that look like at the end of the day? Hey, honey, I'm home. Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullah. Come in the door. Then what?
I think in this day and age, and it's a very politicized issue, but in this day and age, what people are starting to realize is that the return of traditional gender roles actually keeps marriages and families intact.
So she need to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen? Is that what you're saying?
You know, I'm saying what I'm saying, which is the return. You know, you look at a society where over 50% of marriages end in divorce.
Right. And
of that subset, another 45% of those have dealt with infidelity. We have to say that the modern way of approaching relationships and marriage in particular is not working. And what we're given, especially in the West, is this concept of an egalitarian relationship, that men and women are equals in terms of what they should do, that that there are no gender differences. But when we come back to Islam and we look at the way the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba and all the generations, and even other cultures throughout time, and I'm getting to the specifics part, but I think we need to frame it in a certain way, because you mentioned, being barefoot, pregnant in the kitchen, and men are, and people are shamed, using those type of terminologies. But to come to something specific, if a man, especially a man of value, is staying on top of his health and fitness, making sure he's thinking about the protection, the emotional and the physical and the financial protection and well-being of his family, it's perfectly understandable and it's perfectly natural for him to request that when he comes home, his wife is looking cute and attractive, because that will increase his love and his inclination toward her. So beautiful. To beautify herself for her husband, right? That will strengthen the relationship. Men are very simple creatures, We want something and someone that we can look at that pleases our eye. That will help us be more inclined to them. We want a tidy home. It doesn't need to be sparkling and shining, but we want to come home to a peaceful, organized, clutter-free home, because that does something to a person. It does something to my son. I have a teenage son who worked on his room. He's got these fancy lights. He's got a laptop. He's got, a gaming setup. He took a picture of his room. He sent it to me. He said, "Hey, Daddy, look. I spent the whole day cleaning my room. Look how it looks." You just look at it and it gives you a sense of tranquility. It's the same thing that a man is looking for when he comes to his home. A wife that looks attractive and a home that's in order. Those two things right there can change the dynamic of a relationship. Speaking, even more to it, it means a lot to a man to have a wife who is willing to please him. Say, "Hey, baby, I'd love if you can wear this. Hey, baby, I'd love if you could do this. Hey, baby, I'd love if we could do that." A man who makes requests out of love for his wife to please him,
and lust,
and lust. Thank you. That can only strengthen the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about being domineering. There's a term, dominant versus domineering.
Mm-hmm.
Domineering means manipulating, threatening, insulting to get what you want. Dominant is, it's a difference, or another dichotomy is the concept of power versus force. Force is when you make someone do something that they don't want to do. Power is when you make someone do something and you make them want to do it of their own accord.
Or you be influenced.
Influence. Absolute influence. So when it comes back down to a man of value, he would love a wife that's willing to please him and to serve him and to give him deference when there are disagreements means a lot to a man. And keep in mind, a man is looking at the long-term horizon of his family. A man of value, a wise man, a leader, shouldn't just be looking at the next move. He should be looking 2, 3, 10 moves down the line. So, for example, if the man would like to move to another part of town, to another part of the country, to another country altogether,
Mm-hmm.
the man, the husband, the father is doing that with a certain vision in mind. And the most powerful thing, the most attractive thing a woman can do is to support her man. Is to support her man and buy into the vision and allow him to execute and allow him to take the bold moves and bold risks that he needs to. And here's the thing, they won't always work out. They may not always be perfect. Things may not always go according to plan,
Mm-hmm.
but that's a risk that a leader takes. And there's a famous quote: the best laid plans, go awry at the first shot on the battlefield. Right?
Indeed.
And the ability to pivot, the ability to reassess, the ability to handle stress and uncertainty and change is the mark of a leader. So if a wife is willing to trust her husband, and even if the husband makes a decision that doesn't pan out the way they had expected, if he is able as a leader to pivot, to recalibrate, and to make a new plan moving forward, again, that will only increase the mutual love between both parties.
Now, I have something to say with this part here, though, because we talked about 3 things thus far. So we talked about beauty, unquestionable, right? Talked about being clean and keeping the house clean. Now we're talking about supportive, right? When it comes to supporting the husband, agree 100%. But I add another little piece in there because this is dealing with cooperation. Mm-hmm. One is that, what if the idea, or she has a better idea, or can make it go in a better direction for the vision? Is a wise woman is going to work to influence her husband, and a wise husband is going to be listening for that good feedback from his wife, versus she just riding along, watching him crash into the wall, and be like, baby, I'm support you no matter what, crash into the wall. I'm be like, we might kind of crash, but I think this and this and that, and I'm with you, and I think, influencing him in a way that is more feminine, that will help with the vision of the family versus just the blind supportive part. Because if you're cooperating on this vision and you have that support and this person has your back and they're giving you good advice on something, not shooting it down, not coming at you with conflict. Remember last time you messed up and didn't do, not that. But, how can we make this better? How are you? Did you think this part out? Because I'm really thinking, maybe this here, or, that's really a good idea. Compliment your man. What's going, and how would this fit? Or what did you think kind of about this part? Or, one of the things I learned in leadership is that when a person makes a decision and you allow them to make a decision, allow them to influence you, then they take ownership of it. They have skin in the game. It's not, I told you so. You know what I'm saying? So having the ability to allow a person to influence you, but also adopt the vision as their own. That's where you talked about buy-in. So I need to provide clarity there because it's very important, because there are many wives that are smarter than husbands. You know what I'm saying? We can look at the example of Prophet Islam, not saying she's smarter than him at all. That's not a good transition point. But during the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, when he went out, he told the companions, look, the shade right here is due to the rights of Umrah and everything else. They were upset, emotionally distraught by what just happened. And they weren't listening. This is his first time. He wasn't used to this. They did not listen. They were heightening their emotions. They didn't listen. He didn't know what to do. He went, consulted one of his wives. And what did she do? Gave him good advice. You do it and they will follow you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he did. That's exactly what happened.
And I think that speaks to the analogy of the pilot and the co-pilot.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
You know, the co-pilot will give his or her advice to the pilot when he sees something from a different angle. And that's part of leadership. Part of a good leader is to listen to the counsel of the people that are surrounding him.
Mm-hmm.
And if they see something from a different angle, and if they have an idea to help execute on the plan better, a good and a secure leader and a self-confident leader will be open to suggestions. So, yeah, I'm in agreement.
Indeed. So, 3 characteristics you pointed out. Attractiveness, or being beautiful. And that comes in many different ways, different preferences. Then, of course, being clean, making sure you got the home tight, and being cooperative. Yes?
Yes.
All right. Now, many things that you already mentioned are man of value that's already established. We have people that watch what we're doing and not married. Some are brand new married to monogamy. They want to practice polygyny. We'll get to that point in a second. So how does that person work? It's not yet a man of value. He has values, but he doesn't have this vision just yet for the family. Doesn't have his money up where it needs to be just yet. He might be new, might be 20, 25, brand new, newly married or getting out of school or whatever. And they don't have these things just yet.
Mm-hmm.
How do they operate? And do they just give up looking for or expecting the wife to be supportive and cooperative and beautiful and, these things? What part or where do they stand from there? What must you do as a young man or older man, whatever it may be, to develop becoming a man of value?
Yeah, I think that the number was a great question. I'm going to give practical advice. Number 1 is to figure out what you want, because you can't lead anyone unless you can lead yourself. So figure out exactly what you want in exacting precise detail.
Pardon the interruption. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that you could thrive better in the community that's more supportive? Now, I already know the answer to that. But did you know that Outstanding Personal Relationships actually has a community that is supportive and where we really hang out a lot? It has a number of areas and things like, for example, I deal with the men in the Kings and Men section where we discuss a number of different men issues, whether it's polygyny related, parenting related, whatever it may be. This is where we communicate and connect.
And as an introvert, I love the idea of an online community. So we have that. And to be able to speak with like-minded people, speak with other wives, wives, whether you're an incoming wife, whether you're a first wife, you're a wife, period, in general, you only practicing monogamy, whatever the case may be, to be able to be in a community with people who understand what you're going through, understand any type of issues you have, and also being in a place where you have support from others, where it's not all over social media for everybody else to see.
Yes, and it is a safe space. So if you guys want to see us, or if you want to connect with us, come to our community.
Indeed. And like they said, it's private. All right. So you don't have to worry about your stuff being all over the place or all on social media, trying to find the comments and go scroll. We have the subjects. We have all this type of stuff. Just go to outstandingpersonalrelationships.com. Look on the top of the page. Click on community. We look forward to seeing you there. Back to the video.
I want a house in this part of town. I want it to be this many bedrooms. I want a job or a business that makes this much. Even deeper than that, I want to be doing this. This is the type of result I want to deliver at my job. These are the type of clients I want to get in my business. So figure out with crystal clarity what you want. That's number 1. Figure out what you want.
Clarity
on exactly what it can't be what your mom wants, what your parents want, what you're expected to do by society. It's got to be what you want to do. That's number 1. Otherwise, you're not going to act with passion, which brings us to number 2. Figure out what you want. Number 2, create a plan. And when I say plan, I mean exactly what you will do to get X, Y, Z result. And if you're struggling, if you don't know, here's an exercise I tell people to do, and I do it myself. Literally, close your eyes, take 5 deep breaths, full breaths into your diaphragm, and imagine you're that man or that woman who's already accomplished that goal. And ask yourself, what would that person have done to get to that goal? And here's something funny you're going to realize. Most of the time, you have the answers in yourself. You already know exactly what you need to do. If you figured out what you want, you know exactly what you need to do. Let's say you want to start a business. Let's say you want a residual income type of business, and you realize you need to do real estate to do that. You realize, okay, I need to get my credit score up. You realize, okay, I need to get some sort of halal type of financing options. You realize I need to acquire properties. You realize I need to get some tenants, and on and on and on. So that exercise of breathing deeply and imagining what that person would do, it makes you become that person. And when you become that person, you get that person's results because you do that person's actions. So figure out what you want and write down with just laser focus on the specific actions that person would do to get there. And then it's just a matter of following through.
Okay, good stuff. So, all right. So 1, getting clarity. Number 2, planning and then executing upon it.
Yep.
All right. So that helps you develop now. Those are 2 things, but we still need to get to that values part, building that character part. Because we can say, all right, cool. You got clarity, right? You got a plan. Real estate, for example. Great. Sound like Donald Trump.
Yep.
Is he a man of value, though? In my opinion, estimation, no. But again, that's me. I wouldn't allow someone like that with that type of value structure system to marry any of my daughters. But since we're talking about men of value, especially on a higher level and those who lead with morals and character, how do we develop that area?
I think number 1, so you have clarity on what you want, you have plan. Now you act on that plan with discipline, with integrity. So when I say discipline and I say integrity, I even mean with yourself. So if you say you're going to do a certain action, you'll be disciplined enough to take that action. When I talk about integrity, we as Muslims have a certain moral code. We have a certain code of ethics. We have certain standards that we adhere to. And you make sure you stay within those. You avoid the haram and you stay within the halal of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows. Now, in that process, you start building character by remaining disciplined, by sticking to your morals, by keeping your integrity and doing things that may be tempting, that are easy, that are in your face, that you know you could take, but you avoid them because you know it's haram and it's going to earn the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is how you start building your values. And people start seeing, wow, Raza or Nazir is not someone who just follows their whims and desires. They're not someone who will cut corners and do anything they can to achieve the objective. This is a man of value. He's disciplined. He has integrity, and these emanate from his values of courage, of fearing Allah, of discipline, of commitment. And that is attractive. That's attractive to anyone. And if you become present and you keep being consistent and you demonstrate your values in your actions, if you're a young man, you will start attracting the attention of, candidates for marriage.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, that's attractive to me. And I'm looking for that in men for my daughters. You know what I'm saying? So 100%. So now, you kind of lay the blueprint for what a man of value is, how to get there, be there, strive for the next level, and also what men of value are looking for in women. I agree 100%. We covered that. You know what I'm saying? So now my last question for you. In your journey of developing and becoming a man of value, and I know you're not walking around, I'm a man of value, ha ha ha, or you're not doing that. You're humble, alhamdulillah. So in your journey and what you're doing, how does polygyny play a role in that? Because again, when I'm talking about, I'm looking for that, and it's not easy to find men that qualify, that are on this level as men of value, that are good leaders, that already possess this vision, that are self-disciplined, that have good character and morals to marry my daughters, for example. And I'm not the only one with daughters that are looking for. I have people that I know, friends, stuff like that, have daughters, 23, 24, 25, 19, looking to get married, and the prospects are very, very slim. So how does polygyny provide a solution for that from a perspective of a man of value?
So polygyny provides a solution because a man who is willing to put in the work, the emotional work, the intellectual work, and the physical work to build himself into a man of value makes himself a very attractive candidate as a husband. Now, if he's married and he is a man of value and he has the ability and the emotional agility to not only provide for but take care of the feelings of another woman, he becomes a very attractive candidate. So this all boils back down to men leveling up financially, morally, spiritually, intellectually. And in the process of doing that, they solve a real problem in society that you're talking about, which is you have a number of unmarried women who are looking for men with values, men of value, to marry them.
Mm-hmm. And you already shared what those men are looking for. So the women that are probably watching this might want to work on those things. It would just make sense to strive for what a man is as a man of value, if you're a young man or a man, period, or a woman, what men are looking for.
Yep.
So, or men of value are looking for. Because it's much more than just the physical visual. That's just the base level of things.
Right.
But again, we pro morals. And I'm for building a family. I know it's just the two of us here, but my family consists of, directly speaking, it's a dozen people. I mean, well, a little over a dozen now because I have 10 biological children. So it's really 13 and then 2 more. So it's 15. You know what I'm saying? With 2 bonus children, you know, but that's part of polygyny. So it's interesting what happened last Eid or 2 Eids ago is that my family, my daughter, one of my daughters, she got married, right? My third daughter, she got married and her father-in-law practices polygyny. We go back a long time. And when they were babies, we were like, oh, you know, one day they'll probably get married and stuff like that. And we were joking. It was his third child, my third child, but we planted that seed. And alhamdulillah, you know, it panned out. So what we did, it was really interesting. We had a drone shot and everything. Maybe I'll put it in this video, but we were together in the park and having an outing and celebrating and stuff like that at a little amusement park. And they got together. So, you know, my son-in-law, my daughter, and they stood there and they faded back in. Then all of our big family just came together. I mean, you're talking like 30 people, you know, we deep. You know what I'm saying? With proactive fathers that have a vision that's leading, that are protecting their daughters and their women, that are raising young men to live on a higher level. So you're talking about solving many problems in society, coming from a familiar structure that focuses on morals is extremely important. And I think that when you leave polygyny out of the equation, especially with men of value who are extremely rare, then we're doing a disservice to our entire society and community, period. Whether you're talking about our Muslim community, whether you're talking about our Black community, whatever it may be, you know, until we return to developing the character that we need to have, our normal natural character, where we don't have a problem explaining what a woman is or what a man is and what our roles are, what's best for our fams, we are going to have a major problem.
And if I can add another thing that you brought to my mind, men of value throughout history have always practiced polygyny.
No doubt.
One way or another, in one form or another. Every king, every emperor, you know, I'm talking about non-Muslims, had it. And then you look in the Quran, you look at the prophets who had multiple wives. Our last final prophet, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had multiple wives. It's something that men of value have always practiced. As you said, you know, even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the most valuable thing in this world is a fleeting pleasure. This world is full of fleeting pleasures. Here today, gone tomorrow. But the most valuable of these fleeting pleasures in this world is a woman, a pious woman.
Mm-hmm. Virtuous wife, right.
Virtuous wife. And as a man of value increases his value, that's the only thing in this world, or that should be the number one thing that a man is looking for and looking after. So as a man increases his value, he's naturally going to want, men in general typically are polygamous. They want other women, but as a man increases his value, that is even more apparent or becomes even more acute. Now, if you cut that off, if you demonize it, if you shame people for that, what kind of problems do you think are going to come out of that?
Right, they're not going to stop it. They're going to go through other means. So keep in mind, and people have to understand what you just said, as he increases his value. We're not talking about bums. We're not talking about the guys, well, I want to marry multiple wives. We all work together, put all money all together in one pot, and that's how we build wealth. No, that's not really how you do it. You know what I'm saying? That you don't need to get married to somebody else in order for you to go ahead and build a successful business or grow your wealth. You know, that's not what that's about. You know what I'm saying? At least from our perspective.
That's what your brothers are for. Your business partners, other men are for. You build alliances,
increasing your financial acumen.
Exactly.
Yeah, no doubt. So, anyway, with that being said, I definitely appreciate you, sir. Prayerfully, you will start your polygynous journey sometime soon. I know you're looking and stuff like that. I know people contact us all the time about, oh, you know, you should have a service or this and that. We're not matchmakers. You're not trying to be matchmakers at all whatsoever. But for those who are, that we can vouch for, which are very few, because you never know, different things are going on behind closed doors. But prayerfully, you know, maybe somebody watching, some walis or wakils that might want to get in contact with you as you continue to expand your vision and grow the family. Or, you know, others may, you know, also decide to increase their educational background when it comes to polygyny. So whether it's taking a course with me at polygamymasterclass.com or my wives or getting coaching and counseling, whatever it may be, until we invest in ourselves, we can't expect a return. That's just being delusional.
And if I can say one thing about you specifically, you're one of the few people in the Muslim community that have boldly and openly and publicly talked about this topic. You know, people have always been talking about polygyny, but it's always been something that hasn't been public. But you guys are creating this archetype of what a polygynous family could look like. A polygynous family in the West, a polygynous family in the Muslim world. You're adding the financial element, the emotional intelligence element, the communication element, all of these different aspects. So I would encourage people. I mean, I was part of your mastermind for like quite a long time and learned an immense amount in about myself and how to understand and assess myself, how to assess relationships. It's a real value. I mean,
I appreciate that, but
to the community.
We didn't have it. You know what I'm saying? Right. We wanted to have that. We didn't have that support system. We didn't have the structure and the different systems and everything in place. So made a ton of mistakes. And I go over that and being transparent with it. You know, you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We didn't have a plan to really go with anyway. So there's a whole lot of errors. But I can either decide to go ahead, all right, we got it right now. We go ahead and be hush-hush about it. Or we're going to help empower people. We're going to let them know the good, the bad, the ugly, and what it is. And clearly, if it's something that's already allowed in Quran, then there's wisdom to it, because Al-Hakim didn't put that there just cause. You know, Islam is the only thing that restricted and regulated it. And clearly, today's problems that we have in this world stem from all the way that core of family being corrupted continually. To the right now, there's an issue in the West, in particular the U.S., about what is a woman and pronouns and all this type of stuff. We don't have that issue as men. But I don't like men appropriating women. Just like if they did it, if they come to black people and all of a sudden you want to act like you're black, you're not, the Rachel Dolezal thing, all right, or you want to be transracial or something like that, that's a problem. We'll call that out. But appropriating women, men come to conquer and conquest, and you cannot come and conquer and conquest women and try to be that. We're not going to rock with that. But with that being said, that's part of that war on the fam. But that's a whole different conversation, bro. Again, I appreciate you. You know, any closing words?
I mean, this is, like I said, this is important stuff, and I would highly encourage you to look into the courses, look into the masterminds, look into the book, the upcoming book about polygyny, because it's something that's needed. It's a real solution. And the final point, you talk about the West and some of the issues here in the West. Western populations are in decline. I think Elon Musk said that he's more scared of population decline than he is about AI, and he's scared about AI.
He got 10 kids, 9 or 10 now?
Right. And that's for a reason. And look at how Islam and
that's the whole Roe versus Wade thing. You know what I'm saying? That's on a whole different level, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and polygyny is just one aspect of Islam that solves that problem.
Indeed, 100%. 100%. Again, it's an ancient solution to a modern day problem. If we could look at things objectively, get out of our own personal emotion and projecting things and our own ideas, then we can see a lot of the wisdom in it. And that's required of us as being those who submit as Muslims. So again, appreciate you, sir. I'm just going to remind everybody, be outstanding, because average is nothing but the top of the bottom, or the bottom of the top. I'm Coach Nazir. Help you get your shift together. With that being said, I want you to leave in the comments one characteristic that you believe is extremely important in a healthy marriage, whether that's the male side, the female side, whatever it may be. One characteristic that really touched you or that you feel is extremely important. That lets us know that you watched everything that we talking about. You made it to the end, and we appreciate that support. With that being said, I'm Coach Nazir. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.